Oh, hey, we live. Webinar is live on Facebook. We're live. Hey, everybody. It's Johnny Moe. I'm here with my good friend David Childers from Keeping Current Matters, and he's going to give us all sorts of updates and what's going on in the world out there. And this is one of my favorite things that we do in LCA because it's real world stuff. So, David, we skipped, I think, the last time. So, welcome back.
Thank you. We did. It's been a few weeks. I think we were together the first Friday of the month, and then took a week off, but it's good to be back. Talk a little bit about some updates since then. A lot going on. As we kind of, tomorrow we'll be in the month of May. We are in the spring market. So excited to catch up. Excited to be back. Always a fun time getting to share this Friday afternoon update with everybody on here and everybody at LabCoat. So love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. So, man, we were just talking about a couple of things. I know you're going to talk about some things that you have that you're coming into this with prepared as always. I mean, that's why I love doing these webinars, because I just got to show up and talk for like 4 or 5 minutes, and I get the notoriety from being on with a legend. But anyways, we're just talking about lumber, man. Are you guys seeing some crazy prices out there in lumber and all the memes and everything else like that? It is crazy out there. We're not here to talk.
Yeah, I'm not going to go deep into that today because it's a known fact. I don't know if there's a lot of news there. No. We all know that lumber prices are through the roof, and depending on the day, you can see what it is, and it's shocking. I think I've talked to a couple of economists on this, and I'll give you kind of their perspective on it. They do believe it's short term. Now, that's going to be important for builders ultimately that have to make that decision, but it's a headwind, no doubt, in the cost of new homes coming to market. I mean, if it costs several times more for a frame pack for a new home, that's going to be passed on to the consumer. We know that.
I just talked to somebody out in Utah, and this is in all your new construction contracts, most likely. So y'all want to write this down. This dude, they were supposed to start building his house. He had a contract signed and everything. Builder said it's $30,000 more because of the lumber.
Yeah.
They're under contract and everything. It don't matter. They have escalation clauses in there to protect against these things.
Yeah. Right? And if there's a silver lining to that, most economists believe this is a short-term issue. And here's the issue right now. It's the same in the housing market. Demand is outpacing supply. So we have this hangover from the pandemic, coronavirus, supply coming back into the market. Demand has been through the roof with low interest rates, number of people wanting a home. And so we've got to equalize supply and demand. The same thing in the housing market. So it's alive and well. It's out there. It will get rectified in the future, I believe, confidently.
Awesome. So what nuggets do you got for us? What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about that. Let's start off with a couple of updates. Give you a few updates here of just what's happening in the market, kind of a little bit of the state of the union, if you will, on interest rates and appreciation and all the things we need to be talking about. I think these are the things that, as we're out in the market and we're having conversations with people, I would encourage you to reference some of this, or even to share this information out with folks. So let me give you a rundown of that, so you can be prepared for that. So start here with the average 30-year fixed as measured by Freddie Mac. We are down below, again, 3%, which is a good thing. If you remember the first few weeks of this month, we started heading up over 3%. Now we've seen a little bit of relief in that, 2.98%, the average 30-year fixed in this country. And so that's a good thing. We want to continue to get that word out into the market. Really rates in the mid to low threes and even fours. Still a great rate for long-term financing on a home. I think the other thing that is absolutely true as you look at forecasters right now, rates are going up, and the question is just by how much and by when. That's really the only question at this point. You see here, this is another forecast coming from Freddie Mac of the actual 30-year fixed, and then what's projected. You can see where we've been in 17 and 18, kind of that peak in 2018, and then the fall in 2019 and 2020 in long-term financing. Where we stand today is that little red arrow that I placed there on that. Still a great spot in interest rates, but again, the forecast is that we will, continue to rise as the economy improves, as we see improvement in the economy. Certainly rates will rise. The Fed said they're not going to do anything. I think everybody in the market, everybody that's watching this is kind of watching them saying, okay, we'll see what you do, as we go throughout the year. But anywhere between, 3.5, 3.75, I've seen forecasted by the end of the year. I'm not here to try to forecast that for the end of the year, but what I'll tell you is it's not going to be 3% or below that, and it's probably not going to be 4% or on the high side either, somewhere in the middle there. But I think we can expect rates to continue to climb as the economy improves throughout the summer. Now, the impact of that for anyone is, folks don't normally buy a home on necessarily the price. They buy it on what's the cost of the payment, and prices are forecasted to continue to rise. Here's the latest look of home price forecast that we've got from these top 7 forecasters, and you see the average of those 7, about 6.8%, almost 7% appreciation. Now, again, when we look at these forecasters, what they started out in the year, they've all revised their projections. So seeing strong appreciation across the country, in home prices, and certainly right now we're seeing appreciation because of the lack of supply. And I'm going to get into that and talk to that in just a minute. But interest rates rising, Johnny, prices rising, just means down the road it costs more. And I think that's what we need to be educating our clients on. The other question that always comes up, and occasionally as we talk, Johnny, we'll do an update on it. Those that are in forbearance, that couldn't make their payments over the last year. New numbers out: 400,000 people left forbearance in the last 2 months.
That's excellent.
Just about 2.3 million in forbearance right now. Go ahead.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. We want to see them get back to be able to make their payment and stay in their home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a couple of updates there. I'll stop for just a second, sharing my screen. As we look kind of around the business, interest rates up, prices going up, folks are coming off of forbearance. I think it's Keeping Current Matters follow a lot of different sources. I saw a source say in the last week, it's one of the few times they've seen a government sponsored program implemented well and in helping folks, weather the storm relative to their housing in the forbearance program. So expect more information to come out about that. Maybe next time we're together, I'll do a deeper dive into all the forbearance numbers so you have all of that. But no doubt, more and more information will come out about what's coming for the rest of the year and more forecasts, and I'll bring those as we have them.
Awesome. You know what I'm seeing, right? Yeah, while things are going up, those people coming out of forbearance kind of correlates with the increase in the economy, right?
Sure.
People are getting better or more access, or hey, maybe they bought some Bitcoin or Dogecoin. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, it seems to be, if you're coming out of forbearance, you're able to get caught up with your payments. You're able to get back to normal. And that is a sign of a strong, healthy economy. And I'm glad to see those numbers going down in the forbearance and not going up.
Yeah, I think too, I think the other thing that we have to keep in mind is just a couple of things. Remember, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when we were together at the first of the month, the average amount in forbearance is $6,000. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not saying that's an insignificant amount because it's a lot of money, but it's not overwhelming. Banks are saying, hey, how do we tack this onto the back of the loan? How do we make this work? Do we lower your interest rates? They're very, very motivated to figure out how to keep folks in their homes, and it's working out that way.
The cost of foreclosure can be, with the legal fees and the
right.
agents and the carrying costs, can be upwards of 25%.
Yeah,
I
think we continue to say, we've said it for a long time, there will not be a foreclosure crisis in this country. I think there will be those affected by it. There will be homes that come to market, and as we look at moratoriums on foreclosures and what ultimately gets passed there, I think there's still more to come in that, but not this danger sign of, a year ago, people were saying, when we come out of this, there's going to be a ton of foreclosures. There's going to be this, kind of bloodbath in the housing market, and just not turning out that way.
And what I see is, we talked about this once before, people being able to work from home and have these other locations. But deeper than that is they're able to create new businesses, right? They don't necessarily have to work for this particular company. They can go work for this company or that company. I know people that are doing mortgage underwriting at home now, right? And they're making excellent money. They can make as much money as the hours that they can work, right?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, Johnny, that are happening right now, and it kind of leads me into this next topic of the biggest topic in our business: lack of inventory, lack of the homes on the market. But let me say, as I set up those slides, there's something very interesting happening, and I would encourage you to pay attention to it in the world. And here's the analogy I would draw. When we came out of the housing crash in 2008, you'll remember this. We came out of that, and people sort of said, I don't know if I don't know if owning a home is the American dream anymore. You remember that when people said, I just lost a ton of money in my house, and so got foreclosed on. There's a short sale over here. Maybe we'll rent, and maybe buying a home is not the American dream. Maybe it's not the investment that we thought. There's a lot of that kind of thinking post housing crash. Well, coming out of the pandemic, I think it's safe to say we're seeing the reverse of that. There's a lot of information to support that people's attachment to home grew, not only as an investment, but as shelter, as where they educate their kids, where they work from. You just mentioned people working from home. And if you're behind in your payments, the last thing you want to do is lose your home and go from the fire to the frying pan, so to speak, in that situation. And a lot of people saying, home became much more valuable to us. Owning a home became much more valuable to us in the last year, and that trend in real estate, I expect to continue on. And we're seeing it in optimism surveys, a number of people that say they want to buy a home in the coming future. But let's talk just a minute about the lack of inventory here, and I'll share a quote here from Sam Cater. He says, the main driver of the housing shortfall has been the long-term decline in the construction of single-family homes. That decline has resulted in the decrease in the supply of entry-level single-family homes or starter homes. Now, seeing certainly conversations here in LabCoat, in the Facebook group on, are we heading towards a crash? Are we, is this a bubble? Things like that. I do believe that's a question that a lot of consumers are asking, and maybe many agents as well. We have to keep in mind the shortfall right now is because of lack of construction. So our research team built this slide based on the census, and it just gives you a picture of what that shortfall looks like. Now, this is the number of single family housing units completed by decade. And you can see there over the 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the early 2000s, 10, a little bit under in the 80s, over in the early 2000s, but about half of that has been completed in the last 10 years, the last decade. Yeah. And when you look at that, you go, okay, that starts to make sense. And builders are trying to build, there's things happening, but we literally don't have the number of homes in this country for the rate that population is increasing. So that deficiency, that shortfall is led to all the, all the different bidding wars, all the challenges in actually just buying a home today. That we're seeing out there, causing and stoking these fears. Is this a bubble? Is this what happened last time? It was very interesting. Google reported last week that the search question, when is the housing market going to crash, had spiked almost 2,500% in the last month. So a lot of people thinking about that. I think it's a question we absolutely have to consider, and we have to be educated on. We have to have the facts and not just, rule by emotions in this question. Now, if you're a Keeping Current Matters member, or if you go to our site, you'll see we did a video. Sarah Elkis on our team did that last week on how to record a video, how to put out more content. You can search, blog posts that we've written and shared about, how this is not like last time. That'll help you answer that question that your customers are asking, because I think it's summed up this way. Lawrence Yun said this: it's not a bubble, it's simply a lack of supply in the market. And it's causing issues, no doubt, but I think we have to be informed. We have to, Johnny, bring all that information to our clients so they know, what is happening in the market.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's excellent to say. And I don't necessarily think there's a bubble either, but it's not a bubble, it's a lack of supply. That is a great thing to say. And even, everybody wants to move down to Florida. It's like there's only so many homes in Florida for everybody moving down there, right?
Yeah. What's
So,
the question we have here?
there's a major, there's a major increase in construction material costs, and many developers are stopping builds because materials have doubled.
Yeah.
There's
We
some
talked
truth.
about that on the front end of this call, no doubt. Big headwind for a lot of builders, and even those that maybe want to, renovate or put an addition on their home. Lumber is through the roof.
Even, right? So that's the catch 22. What is the answer? Is there anybody out there floating an answer around? Because what I see out there on the internet, and it goes into with what you just said about the search term, is there's a lot of misinformation out there from big people, right?
Sure.
I'm not going to name names here, but there's a lot of top name A-listers that may have joined real estate companies or not, that, just to get the buzz of the headline. That's all they're doing. And they're giving out bad, false information.
Yeah.
So that's why people are like, oh, when's it gonna crash? Or maybe it's an organization that's putting out because they want to increase their stock membership or something, right? There's all sorts of different reasons, but it's just a housing supply. And does anybody suggest an answer?
So let me speak to that specifically, because I think there are several things in that. Oftentimes the most extreme voices are the loudest. Okay, so I think we just have to remember that as we're hearing people talk about things. And headlines and clickbait and all of that do more to terrify people than they do to clarify the actual issue. So I'll bring you some facts here. We'll talk about, what is the current state of inventory, and maybe finish out our time on that. What are experts saying about when is inventory coming back to market? What's Mary Jo saying?
If builders can take a leap of faith and use high performing factory built or ICF for new construction, they can build smaller, cost effective single family.
And I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see builders innovate. That's a great thing about this country. When there's an issue, people show up and say, we want to solve this issue. And that's the market at work. But
Thomas Edison wanted to build cement homes back in his day. The problem, they were so expensive. Bring them back.
Yeah, right. So I think there will be innovation, no doubt. I mean, that's the name of the game, right?
If you're down in Florida, there's multiple different, you're right. They got the block, the Hercule wall. They got all these different ways to build homes. And I do think that we're going to see something. I have a friend of mine out in wherever he is, Las Vegas, and he had invented, I don't know where it is at this point, but the machine produces 4x8 sheets of this almost composite material, which is fireproof, mold proof, everything. It works as the sheathing, the insulation and stuff. So something will come along for sure.
Well, I mean, the best innovations are always birthed out of the pain and the struggle of whatever is happening. I mentioned before as we started this call, and some people may not have been on at that time, I'll repeat it. I've talked to economists about this. Most see this as a short-term issue, that demand is outpacing supply. Same thing in the housing market. We got to get that supply back so we equalize demand. And that's a market at play, right? That will happen at some point. So let's talk about inventory. Let me share a couple of slides on that. Then we'll talk. We talked, Johnny, last year we said, hey, on the other side of this, there's going to be more business for agents that are ready to go out there and grab that business and that work to build their not only community, but just database through this. I'll tell you this, we're going to sell more homes this year than we did last year. And I know most on the call and most agents would take last year over again. It was a good year. And let's take a look at what that's going to look like for just a minute. So this is that look we always use, the year-over-year change in listings. Now, I want to warn you right now that you're going to start to see some very, maybe misleading potentially information come out in the market, like people saying, okay, listings are coming back, and hopefully we're starting to see those listings coming back. Year-over-year listings right now are up 40%. But before you believe that and go out and tell everybody that listings, are coming back, realize this is a comparison to this time last year when nothing was happening, when everybody was pulling their home off the market on the front end of the pandemic. So you want to start to look at week over week numbers right now, because it's just not going to be accurate looking at year over year numbers. And that's going to continue on into the summer. And we're going to have the reverse problem after this, because after the lockdown, everybody came out and we crammed about 3 or 4 months into, a month and a half during that time. So we're going to see some skewed numbers right now. But The total amount of inventory in this country is down 53%. Velocity of the market, number of homes sold, still very, very quick, and you're going to want to check that in your local MLS as compared to first few months of the year to get an accurate look there. But the question is, and it's exactly what you mentioned, Johnny, when will inventory come back? Pulsenomics, which we follow, just released a survey of top economists. When will the housing inventory grow again? Was a question they asked them. 43% said we believe it'll happen in the second half of the year. Those are people that put off selling their home, that feel safer, and getting back to use that word normal in quotes, but getting back to what life looks like for them, and they feel comfortable and safer listing their home on the market. We know that builders are working hard to bring that inventory to market with the headwinds of higher cost, starts and permits have been up almost 20% on the front end of this year. So we know all that's in process and coming. So I think as we look to the second half of the year, we look at what these economists are saying is that we'll start to see more inventory come on the market. The question right now is, are agents out there and ready for that and being active in the market, talking about, to folks, have you thought about selling your home, having that conversation and starting to get ready, because as we move into the summer, as we move into the second half of the year, most economists are saying that that's going to happen. NAR just released a study on Realtor.com, top 5 reasons homeowners plan to sell this year. I think it's worth listening to and thinking through, this, am I talking about this? First, number 1 need, our home no longer meets our needs. Call that the effect of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Folks saying, you know what, we lived through the last year, we need something different, we put it off, we didn't feel safe, whatever the reason is, we need to do something. Number 2, we can make a profit in the current market. I file this one under Johnny. We can sell our home for what? We can actually sell our home and put that much money in our pocket and go out and look for maybe our dream home, look for something else, do what we want to do.
Buy a sailboat.
House, less work. Go ahead, Johnny.
Buy a sailboat.
Yeah,
they're readily available.
That'd be the way to go. Want a smaller house, less work. Number 3. 4, we want to live closer to family and friends. Another, I think, another thing that the pandemic gave us, the value of relationships and the value of family. And number 5, we want different features and amenities. They're things that we need, and we've realized that over the past year. But I think this is what we're looking at moving into the second half of the year. More and more people saying, we want to list our home, more and more inventory being freed up as we go throughout the year. The last slide that I'll give you here, it goes back to what I said just a minute ago. We will sell more homes this year than we did last year. Last year, 6.5 million homes, and forecasts are anywhere from just under 7 to 7.3 million homes. We've never sold over 7 million homes in this country in a year, and and looking forward to doing that this year, and then even into next year as good or better than last year. So 6.5 million homes, a lot of homes to sell in 1 year. And I think as we start to look at these forecasts, we start to say, okay, what are economists saying? What are people thinking? Very optimistic on not only the number of homes sold, but also more and more people deciding to sell as we go throughout the year.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this whole thing, right, is it's going to open up. Something will happen that open up. It's the supply chains, right? And David had posted here, I'm a general contractor as well as a real estate agent. It's taken months to get product, right? Yeah. That is some of the supply chains is, I don't know, this is just a hypothetical guess that I'm asking you. I don't know if you know, is that because of the trade agreements or trade routes or a big boat blocking a canal? I mean, does that impact the product, the level of supply that we need?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons. It's not, I wish I could say it was one thing, but there's a couple of things happened last year in the pandemic. And think about this like you would your restaurant down the street. Mills had to close down and we constricted supply. So that was the first thing that happened. That happened in just about every business that serves, the public. And that happened in lumber. And what happened simultaneously with that? Everybody was at home and they said, we're going to build an office on our house. We're going to do something. Construction, was in demand. And so we had a decrease in the number of output that mills could literally output. And we had a spike in demand. That is the central issue we faced last year. Now, as we come into this year, demand has not been squelched in any stretch of the imagination. If anything, demand is growing,
increased,
as people come, and feel safer again, and say, you know what, we didn't do it last year. We didn't go on vacation. We didn't do this. So we have, this extra money that maybe we'll do, a project with or whatever it is. Now, I do think there will be calls to figure out how to get more supply in the market through Canadian lumber and through, things that we can do to do that. I think there will be, and Dave mentioned that in the chat there. I think it's absolutely right. I think you'll see contractors say, okay, what other, you mentioned it before, Johnny, what other materials can we use and can we start to do things differently, in the construction of homes? And so I think it'll be a multifaceted answer to it. And I don't think it's as easy as saying it was one thing that caused it. It's a supply and demand problem, and we got to bring more into the market. And I would expect, we talked a lot, in the past few months about new administration and what are they going to do for housing. There's been discussions on that. And I don't like talking about pending legislation, but I would expect that there would be conversations around how do we help solve the housing crisis? How do we get more supply into the market? That's going to be a combination of lumber. That's going to be a combination of how do you get new construction and builds going, given that deficit slide that I showed. So I think there's going to be a lot of things that need to happen.
Right, and the cue in the earth berm homes, right? Let's stop building right into the ground like the hobbits.
Yeah, and Dave mentioned there, as long as construction materials keep going up, the cost of new homes is going to skyrocket. There's no doubt as prices go up, that's going to be passed on to the consumer. Now, I will go back to what I said earlier. Talk to some economists about this. They do believe it is an issue that will be, worked through. So not a permanent issue. It's going to continue on.
So I want to just throw this out there. It's a little off topic. I've seen this post a couple times in LabCoats. I'm not going to name the national builders or anything because I just don't do that. But there's companies out there, national builders, that are offering only 1% now or nothing or whatever. They're cutting their agree. It's not that they don't want the agent or need. They don't, because people are just going to buy it. Man, it comes down to a share cost thing, because the package costs what the package cost. And your site work, your land, all the materials. The only thing that's going to come out of that to lower the price would be the builder's profit, and the builder is not going to lower their profit, right? So if you're able to reduce that, unfortunately, guys, this is think back to the NAR lawsuit about the commissions and all, seller and buyer and all that other stuff. You got to get stronger in these particular cases, because I think you're going to see more builders following that suit, because it's just the cost. It's just the cost that is passed on to the consumer, right? Unfortunately. And listen, I'm an advocate for buyer's agents, so don't think that I'm not. And I don't think all builders build properly. I have caught so many shady things, but there might come to a point real soon, because just for the sheer cost of the material, that you might be asking your buyer to pay you to go to that new construction. Just be prepared. All right. You heard it here first.
Good point there, Johnny. I think you're right.
Yeah. So anyways, we're just about out of time. Any questions out there from the peanut gallery? I didn't even check on Facebook. I can't even find it at this point, but if there's any questions, put them down. We'll come back and get them later. But anybody on here, we got a bunch of people watching and listening. Anybody here, any further questions? David, thank you for your contributions. Absolutely spot on. If
Always.
not, what do you got for final thoughts?
Oh gosh, I think the reality right now is there's a lot of headwinds. What we talked about, the cost headwinds, there's low inventory headwinds, there's things like that. Anytime there's headwinds, there's always opportunity. That's what I would remind you of. And the opportunity in the market right now, what I'm telling you is, economists are saying, as we turn the corner this second half of the year, inventory is going to come back. We're going to start selling, and doing a lot of things there, and be ready for that. That is the opportunity, is to be out in the market, be the choice when somebody says, I feel safe about selling my home. Yeah,
absolutely. And you know what? I would also suggest to everybody, man, I did this early in my career, and was part of it, watched it, was at an office that did it. That area 45 minutes out that nobody really wants to live at right now because it's 45 minutes out, I'd be looking for every piece of land I could.
Yep.
Maybe not today, but in 5 or 10 years, that's a fantastic investment because it's just going to keep spanning, right?
Yep.
Urban sprawl. So go out and find those pieces of lands, those one-offs, and hold on to them. Maybe you have your own trees. You can build your own lumber.
Good point. Johnny, it's always great to be back with you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you got to. And hey, before you go, everybody, go to keepingcurrentmatters.com, get your 14-day free trial. It's worth it. What does it say? Also, guys, don't forget we have this recorded in our channel. So go to the LabCoat Agents Facebook, LabCoat Agents YouTube channel, and you can catch the replay there. Keeping Current Matters, 14-day free trial. Go get it. Everybody should have it. It's the best money that you'll spend to make you sound like a champion. David Childers, thank you for being here. See you in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. Take care, Johnny.
Peace out, everybody.